Good morning to you. It's Miss Mallory at the Hardin County Library. Today we are doing Accent and Culture Day. I did not dress up because I couldn't really quite think of how to dress up, but Miss Francis did, and she did an excellent job. You'll be seeing a picture of that soon if you haven't already. So today I thought that I would just come to you with a book called Too Many Leprechauns, or How That Pot of Gold Got to the End of the Rainbow by Stephen Krensky. I'm going to attempt an Irish accent. Please forgive me if you are actually Irish and watch this. Like I said I'm going to attempt an Irish accent. Finn O'Finnigan looked like a rogue and walked like a rascal, so it was widely thought that he was at least one or the other, and his shadow, which followed him closely and knew all of his secrets, might have said he was both. But when Finn returned home to Dingle after a year in Dublin, he was only looking to rest his feet and grow fat on his mother's soda bread. The village looked much as he had left it, the stone walls a bit wobbly, the houses leaning into the wind, and yet something was clearly amiss. At his own house, Finn was surprised to find his mother cleaning up broken dishes with a broom. Mrs. O'Finnigan let out a great yawn. So here you are, Finn, and it would be glorious to see you if only I could keep my eyes open. But the leprechauns are everywhere making those fairy shoes with that infernal tapping, and none of us have slept in weeks. At that moment, Finn heard a steady tap, tap, tap in the yard, and he stepped outside to investigate. In the garden, a leprechaun named Dob was hard at work. Tap, 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 tap. Good day, said Finnegan. Dob scowled at him. It's a busy day, to be sure. The more shoes I make for the fairies, the more gold I get, and nothing is more important than gold. Now Finn had some experience with leprechauns, and he chose his words carefully. A wise outlook, if I'm not mistaken, though. You may have missed a stitch. Dob dropped his hammer. Missed a stitch? He wagged his finger at Finn. Fancy yourself an expert, do you? Come with me. Dob led the way to a second leprechaun named Waddle. He too was making shoes, a dainty pair with silk flowers lining the sides. What say you to these? Asked Dob. Has Wattle missed a stitch too? Finn rubbed his chin. Well, his shoes are fine, assuming. Assuming they'll only be worn in the dark. In the dark, cried Waddle. Where no one could see them, Finn explained. But both leprechauns turned a deep, deep shade of red. The next day, Dob dragged Finn to 3 more leprechauns and 4 more the day after that. By a week's end, Finn had seen every size and style, and for each fault, flaw, or defect that he mentioned, the angrier the leprechauns became. Leprechauns are sensitive, Finn observed to his mother. And greedy too, she added. But don't put my heart crossways by taking too many chances. There was a knock at the door from Dob. You're just in time for tea, said Finn. Dob snorted. It's not tea I'm after, it's you. Follow me. Dob led the way to a field where all of the leprechauns stood waiting. As Finn approached, they moved back slowly to reveal a great pile of gold. We hardly could have gained all this, said Dob, if our shoes were not the finest of their kind. Impressive, said Finn. He could see that the leprechauns loved their gold dearly, so dearly that it just might be their undoing. Perhaps, Finn went on, if I saw all of your shoes together, I might change my mind. Yes, yes, the leprechauns agreed. They were sure that would make all the difference. Tomorrow morning we'll bring the shoes to the village square, they promised. Finn nodded. I'll be counting on it, he said. See all that gold? A gray dawn greeted the leprechauns as they arrived with their carts, barrows, sacks, and bundles. The shoes were unpacked and laid out with care. Soon everything was ready. But while the leprechauns were there and the shoes were there, Finn was not. The leprechauns waited and waited. The sky cleared before Finn finally appeared. "Sorry I'm late," he said, although he didn't sound sorry at all. Finn marched up and down the street. At some of the shoes he stopped and pointed in astonishment. "Ah, oh." And at others he simply clapped in delight. "A very impressive sight," he said finally. "I can see why you were proud of your treasure." Dob frowned. "We're proud?" he repeated. "Are we not still proud of our gold?" "Well, you could be," said Finn, "if your gold hadn't suddenly disappeared." The leprechauns turned pale. Disappeared? Such a thing was beyond imagining. Still, it might be best to make sure. Empty. They found the field empty. "It must be here somewhere," Dob insisted. The leprechauns looked everywhere, behind the hedges, under rocks, even in the trees. All night and into the dawn they searched through Dingle, their lanterns flickering like fireflies in the darkness. But it did them no good. All their fairy gold, every last coin and nugget, was gone. In the morning, when the mist still lay heavy on the air and the leprechauns came pounding on Finn's door. "What have you done with our gold?" Dob demanded. Finn shrugged. "All is not lost, only safely tucked away. I'll make you a bargain. If you promise to leave Dingle and never trouble us again, I'll return your gold." It pained the leprechauns to admit defeat, but not as much as it would have hurt them to lose their gold forever. Reluctantly, they agreed to his terms. "Then we'd best be moving along," said Finn, looking up at the clearing sky. He led them back to an empty field. At that moment, the sun came out, and a rainbow fell from the sky. And there, where the rainbow met the grass, a great pile of gold suddenly appeared. The leprechauns stamped their feet. "You moved our gold to the end of the rainbow, and when the rainbow vanished, so did our gold." "Indeed," said Finn, "for it is fairy gold. And as you told me, the fairies often use rainbows to move their gold about." "You tricked us," said Dob. Finn held out a hand. "The rainbow is back, and so is our treasure. Take it in peace while the rainbow holds, and remember our bargain." Finn then went home to his mother, who, after a good night's sleep, baked him more loaves of soda bread than he could even eat. As for the leprechauns, they were heard grumbling at times about how Finn had outwitted them, yet they were secretly pleased as well, for if the truth be told, they've kept their gold at the end of the rainbow ever since. The end. So I hope you enjoyed the story. I'm going to have a kit out for you to make your own little pots of gold at the end of the rainbow, and I'll see you next time.